Hi everyone, it's Plastic EP here, and let me tell you, get ready because here we are and go straight to the top of the charts.
Go straight to the top of the charts. Go straight to the top of the charts. From 10 to 1, you gotta show number 1 when you go straight to the top of the charts. Top of the charts, top of the charts. That song's gonna climb to the top. Go straight to the top of the charts. When you go straight to the top of the charts. When you go straight to the top, right to the top. When you go straight to the top of the charts.
Welcome everybody coming in from around the world. We are coming in from the UK and Australia. You've got the fabulous Sabine, now a very special guest from the UK, Tony Barrell. How are you today, Tony?
I'm fine, thank you. Great to be here, Plastic.
Dory, we love having you on the show, Tony. Now, I got to tell you, Tony's got a fantastic book out there all over the world. I've seen it in every bookstore here in Melbourne, Australia. Show me the book, Sabine. Right, The Beatles on the Roof by Tony Barrell. I got to tell you, this is a worldwide big seller, everybody. Go out there and get the book. And where's it available, Tony?
I decided that there wasn't a book about the rooftop concert out there. There wasn't much information about the Beatles rooftop concert. You had to really scratch around on the internet to get any information at all, and some of it was contradictory. So I thought, well, why not do a whole book on those 42 minutes of history and get, rope in some of the people who were there that day, people who were working on the roof, people who were sitting on the roof, people who were in the street even. If I can find people in the street, that would be fantastic. And that's what I did. And I just hauled some people in. I got some really great people. I got the Beatles' personal sort of secretary. I got Michael Lindsay Hogg, who directed the film Let It Be, and I got people like Alan Parsons and lots of people in the streets, who had been sharing their memories on the internet. I just grabbed them and said, "Look, let's do an interview." I got the members of the police who went to stop the concert. Having tea with Ken Wolfe, who was one of the guys who turned up and stopped the concert, was just a thrill, and he told me all about his career and how later he'd become Princess Diana's bodyguard. So that's 2 claims to fame for one policeman. I had such an adventure, and then I had a detailed snapshot of the of that day, January the 30th, 1969, and I could still write more about it, actually. I've learned more since. There might be part 2 coming.
Let me say this to you, Tony. I've got to say this. Our good friend Leslie Cavendish, you may know him, right? He was the hairdresser of the Beatles from 1966. Let me tell you, Chris O'Dell was on the roof sitting on the top there near Yoko on the chairs.
Yeah, she was.
But what happens is Leslie went there and couldn't go upstairs, and they made him stay under the floor. So he was under the feet of the Beatles.
When they started playing, there was no announcement that this is the Beatles. It could have been anybody. Somebody thought it was the Kinks. Somebody thought it might be Led Zeppelin. They were around. They'd started Led Zeppelin, and so and then people heard the bass playing, and it was distinctively Paul McCartney bass playing. It was that Hofner violin bass, but they heard a piano at the same time. Now, John Lennon didn't play piano very often. He did it occasionally. He did it in the stadium gigs and things. But they thought, how can Paul be playing bass and piano at the same time? So people thought it wasn't the Beatles then. It must be somebody else. It must be like the Rolling Stones, but it didn't sound like them. So that confused people for a while.
We've seen your book. We know you're one of the biggest Beatle fans out there, but you're also a Monkees fan. Now, you become a Monkees fan because you're a first-generation fan and you saw it on TV. And I believe it was in January that they showed it first in the UK. Take me back to when you first discovered the Monkees TV show in the UK.
I was extremely young. I think I was virtually an embryo, but I was captivated by this TV show with these 4 crazy guys, and the music was great. The theme tune, "Hey Hey We're the Monkees," was just a sensational burst of joy. It reminded me a bit of the early Beatles stuff, because they were bursts of joy as well. And I just had to watch this show, and I had to sit down because there were no videos in those days. You had to sit down and watch the TV, with my dinner usually, and I was captivated. There was one episode, "Monkeys in a Ghost Town," which was really quite scary, and they were being kidnapped, and it was captivating, and I couldn't wait for the next episode. And for me, looking back at it, it was a kind of bridge for me. From the Beatles to Monty Python's Flying Circus, because the shows were so zany and so crazy. And
exactly. It didn't make sense, but let me tell you, here's my poster that took 52 years to get signed.
Fantastic.
By all 4. And let me tell you, that's my prized possession. And we love the Monkeys, and that's what we're talking about now. Now, I really want to get into it with you, if I can, Tony.
Yeah.
Tell me now about when Davy Jones was going to get drafted possibly into the US Army, what the UK fan club did. Because you know all about it. Tell us.
Yeah, I discovered this by accident because I was just researching the musical history of Marble Arch. Marble Arch, the famous monument in London and the surrounding area. Because, there were lots of studios around there, the Pye Studio, the Philips Studio. Vangelis had a studio in the early 80s around that area. And I just happened upon this little item, a scrap of paper in a newspaper that said, Monkeys fans march in London. And it was all about this group of mostly girls. I think it was either all girls or mostly girls who congregated at Marble Arch and then made their way with all their banners and singing Monkeys songs to Grosvenor Square, where they handed a petition into the US Embassy saying, please don't let Davy go to Vietnam. If Davy goes, we go too, things like that. And a fantastic story. And I've just been scratching around trying to get more and more information on that. I did a blog about it, which is pretty exhaustive. The great thing I suddenly found this TV show from 1984, which it's called The Time of Your Life. It was a BBC show. It's presented by Noel Edmonds. And Davy came on dressed in as a US soldier, basically, and talked about that time and how he nearly got drafted. And they had the woman who had been the girl who had organised the march came on, and they talked about it. And it was a fantastic thing to find. Linda Hards from Twickenham, she was, and she's from Twickenham, and which is near me. And she, she got like 2,000 signatures on this petition, which is an amazing thing to do in the age before the internet, isn't it? All from Monkeys fans, and she got all these girls together, and they did this really good-spirited, good-natured march onto the embassy. But what a fantastic thing to do! And it was. I figured out it was April the 5th, 1967 when they did that, and that was a Wednesday. And I thought, well, shouldn't they be at school? But actually, that was part of their Easter holiday. Because we get quite generous Easter holidays in the UK, and it was the second week of their Easter holiday. So that was the story. And of course, Davy didn't go. We know now Davy didn't go, and there are various reasons put forward as to why Davy didn't go. The one reason, if you look on like IMDb and things like that, you get, Davy was the sole support for his family. His father didn't work. His father was unwell and didn't work. Back in Manchester, this was. And so he had to support his family so that he couldn't go to war. That was a reason for not going to war. There was another reason why he couldn't go. And he organised that himself. He basically started starving himself because he was only 5'4" tall, Davy, and he had to be like 104 pounds, I think he said, to get into the army. So he thought, why, if I go below 104 pounds, then I won't be eligible to fight in Vietnam. So that's exactly what he did. All the Hershey bars went out the window. All the anything, he couldn't eat any sugar or anything. So he got himself pretty thin, actually. Dangerously thin. I don't know if you see it in the photographs. I've been trying to find photographs of thin Davy. That's quite
sure. I also got to ask you, the producers had a replacement in case Davy had to go to the army. I know who it is. You tell them who it is.
Yeah, well, if they had contingency plan, because if Davy had to fight in Vietnam, then somebody had to replace Davy and the Monkeys. They had commitments, they had recording, they had a big world tour to do and things like that. So somebody had to replace Davy. It's a bit like Jimmy Nicol in the Beatles, when he filled in for Ringo. The guy who was earmarked was Tim Rooney, who was the second son of Mickey Rooney, the actor. Who was also, Mickey Rooney was quite small, and his son Tim was quite small as well. So, if David had gone off to fight in Vietnam, it would have been, in comes Tim, which would have been really odd for Monkeys fans, I think. But fortunately, David didn't go. As I said, he had his family in Manchester to think of. He had his weight. He got down to 99 pounds, and apparently the army officer at the medical said to him, "You're a 99-pound weakling," and so he was ineligible to fight in Vietnam. So we had a big celebration after that and started eating again. His military file had also disappeared, so that would have created problems. That probably meant he wouldn't have been drafted as well. So that's a mystery that's still yet to be solved for me. And
of course, I've got to say, there's a Monkey song called 99 Pounds. I don't know if that's got any relevance. I don't know if you know that.
Tony, have you met any of the Monkeys, actually?
Unfortunately not. No, that never happened.
Right. Okay.
But I only ever met one of the Beatles anyway. So,
Yeah. Did you get to the reunion, the UK reunion tour?
I didn't. I was away in America actually at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I was doing other things. I was reporting for the Sunday Times on UFOs, I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It celebrates the UFO club at the Roundhouse, which is a great sort of hippie hangout. It's where Pink Floyd
that's
played.
What it is. I thought you had an interest in UFOs, Tony.
Sorry?
I thought there was a big interest in UFOs.
Yeah. I that's another thing that I have. I used to do the kind of woo-woo circuit for the Sunday Times. I used to write about ghosts and UFOs. So when that crosses over, at some other time we might talk about John Lennon's UFO experience. That would be.
Yeah, I've had a couple of experiences, but that's another story or two.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Now let me tell you, have you uncovered any more monkey stories going through the magazines and so forth? But the main question I've got to ask you: what has happened to the Monkeys' original '60s fan club in the UK? When did that stop?
Oh,
look. Band 6.
Oh, wow.
I used to be a member until 1988. Sorry, 1980. Yeah, 8. Yeah, sorry. I just have a few of these now. I used to have the Monkey Monthlies way back in the 70s. They've long gone, I'm afraid. They were slung out. But I have these, but I have to establish if there's still someone running the UK fan club. You know anything about that?
No, I mean, I've been trying to find Linda Hards, who was the girl who was presumably in the fan club and organised all those that organised the whole march. But obviously, it's always harder to find women than men because they changed their name.
Sabine, will you read that out, please?
Yeah, sure. So a Latin, I can't pronounce his surname. Tony went to the Applejacks reunion, who were playing at the same time as the Monkeys reunion.
I didn't do that. I don't know what that's about.
Maybe it was another Tony.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What about some other fan stories? What have you discovered from the 60s about the Monkeys in the UK? Because I'm just saying, the UK love the Monkeys, same as Australia.
Yeah, I've just been watching the original series again over and again, and it's amazing how well it sticks in the mind, that it's just fantastic. The script writing is quite wild. I remember going to see the film Head, when they went to the film Head. That I was something like 10 years old.
1968. I couldn't see it. They wouldn't let me in the cinema.
I sneaked in. I used to sneak in the back.
What was that experience like?
Yeah, but it all went over my head. I just thought, what's this crazy nonsense,
Yeah, exactly, because you were expecting a Monkey TV show, yeah?
Yeah, I was, and
exactly.
The stuff like scripted by Jack Nicholson, was it?
Yeah. I just recently treated myself to the soundtrack, and it's silver vinyl. It's lovely.
Great, yeah.
But I'm not going to play it.
The theme tune was it the Porpoise song or the Porpoise song or however you pronounce it. That's I quite like. That's quite cool. The theme tune's ahead, isn't it?
I love
I
all that.
also got to say, in the UK, a friend of the show's Peter Mills. He's got a book called Head, the 60s and whatever. It's a great book. Check it out. He's a big authority in the UK about the Head movie. Hello, Peter, if you're watching. Well, tell me, were you more impressed by the TV show, the songs, or the whole package in the UK? Like, how much of a big influence was it on your life as compared to the Beatles?
Yeah, as soon as I could, I started playing guitar and formed a band. Influenced by the Beatles, the Monkees, David Bowie. And it's interesting that while Davy Jones was under risk of being sent to Vietnam, there was another Davy Jones up and coming who was about to release his debut album, but he changed his name to David Bowie because of Davy Jones. So that was a reason for changing his name. So he changed. The Monkees changed David Bowie's career very early on, didn't they? They gave him an alias, perhaps his first one.
That's exactly what happened. The name Davy Jones, he had it, and he didn't want to be confused with Davy Jones from the Monkees. That's actually correct.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to do, Tony,
I like the story that Mike Nesmith used to wear those woolly hats all the time, didn't he?
Yeah, the green wool hat.
Apparently, he hated wearing woolly hats. They made his head itchy.
I did a sketch of this. I've done a sketch
at the time
wearing that wool hat, so it's one of my best pictures. Yeah.
Anyway, Tony, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want you to hold up Tony's book. Go out there, everybody that's a Beatles and Monkees fan, it doesn't matter. This is a fantastic book. Go out there and buy it. The Beatles on the Roof by Tony Barrell. Let me tell you, that's a big seller. As I said, it's everywhere. It's on the internet. It's at your local stores. Believe me, I can't believe every time I walk into a bookshop here in Melbourne, it's there, Tony. It's there.
That's music to my ears, Plastic. Really is.
It's true. And let me tell you, we've interviewed you before on the show, right? One of my other shows. And I'll tell you what, it's always a privilege. And as far as a writer goes, you write some fantastic, astounding books. That's not the only book you've written, is it?
No, it isn't. I've also written
Look at that.
4 photographers on the Fab Four, and it's basically we've gone into the files of Terry O'Neill, Norman Parkinson, and 2 other lesser known photographers, Michael Ward and Derek Bays. Yeah, and we've got some fantastic, amazing pictures in here. When
was it released?
This covers 63 to 65.
When was it released?
It was released at the end of last year.
Unbelievable. I didn't know anything about it.
This is doing very well. But
that's a book. That's a quality book.
I have to get that. Yeah,
it's a huge book. I've only got one copy myself, but it's
you can sign it for me, Tony. When we meet up, you can sign it.
I'd be happy to do that. Yeah, very happy to do that.
Yeah.
If you meet up for coffee and live close by, it's all right. He doesn't have to post it because it cost him a fortune. Now, Tony, as I said, you got your 2 fantastic Beatle books. We know they sell. We know the quality, and want everyone out there to go and buy them.
I also wrote a book about drummers. That was my first book. It was called Born to Drum.
That's right. Yeah, I know about that.
And I got to interview people like Ginger Baker when he was alive, and Bill Collins, Roger Taylor of Queen, and lots of drum and lots of American drummers like Chad Smith of the Chili Peppers, and lots of session musicians. And I wanted to get to figure out what makes drummers tick, or click, or bang. That book you lend it out, you don't see it again.
Oh, I never do that.
Never do
that. No. I've learnt my lesson there, Tony. I never lend anything anymore.
No.
Don't lend anything. Just send it to people like me overseas. All right, kids. Thanks, Tony Barrell, for being on the go straight to the top of the charts.
It's been a pleasure.
Fantastic job from the sensational Sabine. Say goodbye to everybody, Tony.
It's been an unalloyed pleasure, Plastic. Thanks for that. And nice to see you, Sabine, for the first time.
Straight to the top of the chart.